Have you ever met somebody who ran away? I have. I know somebody who ran away. This is somebody, she was just fed up with life, and life was not going the way that she wanted it to go. She was frustrated with her leaders. She seen that thought they weren't listening to her. She didn't have enough input into the decisions that were being made. She wanted her life to be better. She wanted her life to be different. So she ran away. She packed up. She grabbed some food. She stuffed it into her backpack. And she wrote a note. She left a note. And then she just ran away. That runaway was my 7-year-old daughter, Rachel. And so she ran away. She went to the church next door, it was our church, and she climbed down into the air conditioning well. And there she hung out for a while until she thought it was time to go back. And much to her chagrin and dismay, her ever-vigilant mother never knew she had left. And none of us read the note. Isn't it fun parenting? Yeah, way to go, dads. Happy Father's Day to you. So, there's another runaway, and not a 7-year-old, but somebody who was a seasoned spiritual leader ran away. And not 100 yards like my daughter Rachel ran, but 100 miles he ran away. And while my daughter took some food with her, Elijah had nothing to eat. My daughter was disappointed with her parents. Elijah was disappointed with God. And you got to ask yourself, why would a prophet of God ever run away? Elijah had just come off this huge victory at Mount Carmel. Elijah was a prophet of Israel, and he had been outnumbered by the prophets of pagan gods 850 to 1. Bad odds. And so if you read in 1 Kings chapter 17 and 18, there's some smack talk going on between Elijah and the 850 prophets. And then God shows up, and Elijah wins this incredible, stunning, decisive victory. The underdog wins, and it wasn't even a contest. But then Elijah runs away. Elijah is overwhelmed. He is exhausted. And the wicked witch of the west, Queen Jezebel, she's issued a contract to have Elijah taken out. And Queen Jezebel, she has all the resources she needs to accomplish that. So Elijah runs away. Elijah's afraid. He feels that he's all alone. So Elijah ran away. Rachel ran away. My hunch is that you also know somebody who has run away or at least thought about doing it. And that's you, right? Because you've been where Elijah was. You've been exhausted. You have been overwhelmed. You felt like Elijah did, that life was getting way too hard, and you need a break. One reason why we go on vacations, we need a break. The demands at work, the stress from the family is just too much. Life's not turning out the way that you thought it was going to turn out, and you feel all alone even in the midst of all the activities and all of the noise. You've been running on empty, and now you have nothing left in the tank. If only you could just curl up and give up on life. Why don't you grab your Bibles? Let's go to that account. 1 Kings chapter 19. Students, grab one of those action Bibles. This is great. Grab one of those action. Adults, you can grab one too. Page 408 in the front part of the action Bibles. It's got pictures. It's got everything. Check it out. So what Elijah does is that Elijah runs away 100 miles from Mount Carmel, goes down to Beersheba. And Beersheba is a desert place, and there's a broom tree. Why don't you check out this picture on the screen? That's what a broom tree looks like. It's a short, squatty tree, but provides some shade in the midst of an arid but hot place where the sun's just blazing down. So Elijah, he curls up underneath a broom tree, and he falls asleep. His hope is that his next experience is not under that broom tree, but in heaven. And look at what it says in 1 Kings 19, verse 3. Lord, I've had enough. Have you ever felt like saying that? Lord, I've had enough. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors. In other words, go ahead, stick me in the grave with my ancestors. So stop right there at verse 3. What would you expect God to do with Elijah? I mean, think about what God had just already done with Elijah. God had given Elijah this incredible victory. And if you go back a couple more chapters, God had empowered Elijah to provide this miraculous food to someone who didn't have any food. And then God had raised somebody from the dead through Elijah, and that person came to life. And certainly, if Elijah had learned anything at all, Elijah would have learned that the past is the best predictor of the future, and that what God has done in the past, God's going to do something like that in the future. But Elijah wasn't buying any of that. And Elijah wants God to act Elijah's way right now. So what's God going to do? Sounds to me like it's a good time for a scolding, doesn't it? I mean, I can hear the typical dad saying something like this. Oh, come on, Elijah. Quit feeling sorry for yourself. Get your chin up. Get back in the game. It's time to do some work. And if not, if you want to sit there and sulk, it's time to turn in your prophet card. That's not what God does. That's not what God did for Elijah. That's not what God does for you. Our God knows exactly what you need. And God meets those needs completely. God provides abundantly, and God provides perfectly. You know, last week we kicked off this series, and Pastor Will, he stated these words. I love these words. He said, the God of the Scriptures is a God of abundance and provision. Say that out loud with me. The God of the Scriptures is a God of abundance and provision. And so as Pastor Will explained, that doesn't mean that when you follow the Lord, that life will go your way and life will be easy. You have more than enough stuff and enough money to buy all the things and all the experiences that you want. It doesn't mean that, and Elijah's proof of that. It also doesn't mean that if you have little and you're just scraping to get by, that there must be something wrong with you or weak about your faith. Elijah's proof of that too. But the God of the Scriptures is a God of abundance and provision. Say it again with me. The God of the Scriptures is a God of abundance and provision. So God provided. God first provided physically. So while Elijah slept, God sent an angel. The angel touched Elijah, fed Elijah, gave Elijah some flatbread that had just been grilled over some hot coals. He gave Elijah a jug of water to drink. Oh, Elijah didn't need scolding. God knew what Elijah needed. He needed help physically. Some rest, some food, something to drink, and a touch. And then Elijah fell back asleep. And the angel came a second time, touched him, gave him some more food and something more to drink. Now put yourself in Elijah's situation. Elijah's been curled up, he'd been sleeping, all of a sudden, someone touches him. And his eyes barely open, but he starts to smell something that had just been cooked on the grill. Picture this. Look at this next picture. Picture that. In fact, do something better than that. I want you to start to smell that. Can you smell that? Imagine that you gave your dad for Father's Day a Blackstone grill, okay? And next Saturday morning, Dad gets up early and he opens up the grill. He puts a griddle on the grill and he decides that he's going to just start cooking some chorizo sausage, some bacon, and then he dices up some onion and some green pepper. He adds some eggs to it. He scrambles some eggs, and then he takes his own flat bread, we call it tortillas, and he makes breakfast tacos for you. Can you smell that? Next time Dad's grilling out, I want you to think about this story, that the God of the Scriptures is a God of abundance and provision. And Elijah receives what God brings to him physically. So God meets his needs. You need God's provision. Some of you need rest. Probably the most godly thing you could do today is get some good sleep tonight. You need some rest. You need food. You need touch. You need drink. Admit it. Recognize the reality that you need God's provision. Check out verse number 7. Verse number 7, the angel says to Elijah, "The journey is too hard for you." By yourself. No matter how strong you think you are, there are times in the Christian life where the journey is too hard. It's too hard to live completely dedicated to the Lord. It's too hard to keep on serving and sacrificing. It is too hard to keep on giving to other people without getting those attaboys, way to go, thank yous. It's too hard when it seems that you're all alone carrying all the weight for everybody else. It's too hard when no one wants to be rowing in the same direction that you are. It's just too hard. And if you think you can do it on your own, you're deceiving yourself. And if you think that you can rely on your own strength, talent, or intelligence, you will fall into despair just like Elijah. The journey is too hard. That's reality. No matter how spiritual you are, that's reality. The journey is too hard. I loved Emily and Dave. Thanks for talking and telling us about Vacation Bible School. Let me tell you, the kids, when they sang this last week, they were 100 times louder than when they sang this morning. 196 people volunteered from the time this whole thing started through this last week. Way to go, church, 196. Over 200 children in our Vacation Bible School. And by Friday, people were tired. They were exhausted. And there's a reason you don't do Vacation Bible School 52 weeks a year. Because no matter how spiritual you are, you need God's provision, and God provides for you physically. He gives you what you need. Dads, the same is true for you. Your desire, the priority that God has given to you is to disciple your children so they know Jesus Christ as Lord and live their lives for Him. And so, dads, you don't abdicate your responsibility and give that responsibility to social media or your kids' friends or what you see on TV. But the journey is too hard. And what do you do when the journey is too hard? Receive. First, be a receiver. You come to the Lord, experience His presence, and you come just as you are. If you're depleted today, you come to the Lord. If you feel like you're all alone, you still come to the Lord. because he provides for you physically. God invites you to his table. God encourages you. He restores you. He refreshes you. But that's not the end of the story. Elijah needed that rest, and you need that rest, but that's not the end. Elijah needed that food and water. You need food and water, but that's still not the end. Look at verse number 8. Strengthened by that food, Elijah traveled 40 days and 40 nights until he reached Horeb. Horeb is Mount Sinai, where God gave the 10 Commandments. Horeb was 250 to 300 miles away from Beersheba, depending on which route that you take. And so Elijah traveled and went that great distance because he'd been strengthened by how God provided for him physically. But God not only provides physically, but God provides relationally. And look what happens. When Elijah gets to Mount Sinai, the first words you hear from God are a question. What are you doing here, Elijah? I love that. Don't you love that? What are you doing here, Elijah? Do you think God asked that question because he didn't know the answer? And then if you skip on down to verse number 13, God asked the same question a second time. Is it because God forgot what Elijah said the first time? Why does God ask that question not once, but why does God ask that question twice? I have a friend who will ask me this question. How are you doing? And he give you a standard answer. I do that too. I'm doing fine. Things are great. God's good. Da-da-da. And then he will pause for a second. I know he's going to do this. And he'll ask me a second question. How are you doing really? Why does he do that? Why does God ask Elijah this question the second time? Because like my friend, what God is doing, he's inviting us into an open, honest, vulnerable conversation where we can pour out what's going on in our lives, expose our struggles, where we can lean into our feelings and find out what's behind those feelings and be honest with God. And instead of denying any disappointments, instead of putting a facade on over ourselves, so, we're trying to appear good and holy before God, God invites us into an honest, vulnerable, open conversation. I mean, that's what the Psalms are about. In the Psalms, you hear one of the psalmists saying something like, hey, God, why are all those bad people getting all the breaks in life and I'm not? God provides relationally. And he meets you right where you are. Instead of that quick prayer, God help me today, God take care of so-and-so, God be with me, take your time, slow down your prayer, and be honest. God, I'm really struggling. This journey is just too hard for me. I'm hurting. And I think this is why. And each time God asked Elijah that question, each time God received the same response where Elijah answered, but I am the only one left. That's how Elijah felt. But Elijah was wrong. Because God provides relationally. And God was with Elijah. And so God speaks to Elijah at Mount Sinai. Not like Elijah thought, not with the wind, not with the earthquake, not with the fire, but with a gentle whisper. A whisper of grace. A whisper of love and concern. A whisper of a relationship. God whispers to you. And what that says to you is this. Preach to yourself what God has already spoken to you. You need to learn to be your first preacher. to say to yourself what God has already said, so that you can say to yourself that because of Jesus Christ, I am not alone, He is with me. That because of the death of Jesus, my sins are completely forgiven. That because of the resurrection of Jesus, I have a forever life. And because of the promises of Jesus, I have a hope that lasts. Be your own preacher. Because God meets you relationally. There's more. Because God also provides relationally through others. So God corrected Elijah. Elijah didn't know this. And God said, hey, by the way, you aren't alone. There are 7,000 more in Israel just like you. And so God spoke into the isolation that Elijah was experiencing and invited him into community. No matter what you're feeling, you are not alone. You are not alone. We are the church together. You know, we confess our faith using the words of the Apostles' Creed. I believe in the Holy Christian Church, the communion of saints. You are not alone. There are people, hundreds of people around you right now who are joined together with you. In Christianity in America today, we've often settled for, and this is good though, we have settled for, I have a relationship with God through faith in Jesus Christ. And that's true and that's good. But we have lost sight of I have a relationship with other people because we are joined and gathered together around the cross of Jesus. You are connected to each other just as you are connected to Christ. And so be the church. We gather together on Sunday mornings. We gather together, and as we serve, whether it's through our vacation Bible school or something else, we gather together. So be here for each other. Not just for yourself, be here for each other. And then during the week, be there for each other because people need you. The journey is too hard. And so we encourage each other, support each other, correct each other. We are with each other. And so God sends Elijah back to work. God didn't scold Elijah, nor did God coddle Elijah. He didn't say, oh, that's okay, Elijah. We're going to be okay. I'll take care of you. Just hang here with me. No, God didn't coddle Elijah. He sent Elijah out to work and gave Elijah the job to raise up the next generation of leaders, to anoint the next kings, to raise up Elisha as the next prophet of God. God meets you right here today. And God cares about you physically, and He'll meet your needs physically and relationally. But then God sends you to work. Husbands and dads, love your wives and serve your wives. That's your job. That's your work. Dads, raise your kids, disciple your kids to know Jesus Christ as Lord and to live with Him and live for Him. That's your job. And for all of us to be a witness of Jesus in our families, in our workplace, and in our neighborhoods. That's our job. The God of the Scriptures is a God of abundance and provision. He feeds us, nourishes us, refreshes us, and then He sends us to do our job. In Jesus' name, amen.